Hey everyone, this is Wei. Thanks for joining me here once again. So for this video, I'm going to be doing another portrait sketch, and this will be of a male face, and this time it's going to be Bruce Lee. So I'm going to be talking about the whole process of drawing a portrait, how you can draw things accurately and ultimately how to shade it as well. So let's get started, and I'll talk about the process along the way. Alright, so to draw Bruce Lee here, first thing that you want to do is just kind of look at the face and see, some of the features and recognize some of the major features of his face. It's very angular, right? Like it's very thick eyebrows, and his nose is very straight, and the edge of his face right here is very, very straight as well. So I'm going to start with the eyes, and I'm going to draw basically from the corner of this eye to the corner of this eye. So just looking at it, there's like a slight slant that kind of goes up a little bit. So I'm going to start off with a slant, just trying to, the best you can, to just follow that slant. You're going to recognize it. And one of the things you can do to measure slants and stuff is to just, move your pencil over it and just keep, repeating that stroke. And that way you can start seeing that line a lot better. Okay. So I'm going to do that. So this is going to be the corner of his eye right here. And then let's say right here somewhere, let's just go right around here then. That'll just give me approximate size for those 2 points. So let's divide the eye up. Let's find the width of the eye. And if you look at this, it's kind of like the distance between the eyes is almost even. There's a little bit of perspective going on. So if you look at it, if you divide it in thirds, you could probably get something like that. So that would be, the width of this eye right here. Okay, I'm just gonna sketch it in real quick just to show you what I'm talking about. And then this would be the width of the other eye. Okay, so before I go into that, so now I'm just trying to get as much reference points as I can. So let's work on down the nose. Let's work on the other part of the face. So here's the same thing, right? The corner of the eye, here's the nose slant. So you kind of you can move your pencil like this, just back and forth, and you start seeing the line a lot better. You'll be able to recognize that slant. And then what you want to do is, once you do enough of that, then you can try to replicate that on your paper. See if just keep doing that. All right. So let's see. Now we know the slant of the nose, and if we look at his eyeball, basically I want to measure vertically. If I go down where his nose, the tip of his nose, the edge of his nose, if we go straight up, it's going to hit his eyeball right around the midpoint. So we do that, it's going to hit right around there. So approximately we know the nose, the edge of the nose is going to turn right around here. Then from there we can work on the other edge of the nose. So we look at the edge of the corner of his eye, we go straight down. That's pretty much going to hit his nose. So we go straight down. So now we know the edge of the nose is right here, and we're going to follow the same slant. There's a little bit of a perspective going on here, but very, very minor. So, just kind of following the line almost with the eye. But there's a little bit of perspective. It looks like everything's going, the vanishing point is over there somewhere, and it's going this way. All right, so let's keep moving on. So let's say this nose right here. Now we can let's see, we can rough in that. Let's see, we'll go straight down. Again, following the slant right there. Like if we follow that curvature, go straight down, probably something like that. Now, how far do we go down? Let's see, let me move the paper up a little bit. We can actually measure like how far, like just take your pencil and whatever, measuring aid that you want to use. You can actually do this. Let's say, I'm measuring the bottom of his chin to the bottom of his nose. And if we duplicate that, it kind of goes all the way up to his eyebrow. So if we draw, let's see, roughly in his eyebrow like this, right, which is almost the width of his eye, the height of his eye. So now we have that, and let's see if we do this, and then we double that. So his chin is gonna hit somewhere right around here. Might be a little long. It looks a little long, but let's just go with it for now. Yeah, wait a minute, that's way too low. Alright, let's see. Let's do. Oh, sorry. Totally marked it wrong. Okay, that's more right. More like it. So now we know the chin is gonna be right around down here. Okay. And then let's move on to its lips. We're gonna go straight down. Okay, right around, let's see. This distance right here is probably around this distance. Yeah, right around there. Again, a lot of it is just being able to measure, and you can use drawing aids, you can use pencils or rulers or whatever just to measure, some of the distances. So like here, straight down, the corner of his lips like somewhere right here. Okay, and then this. I mean, you can use the drawing aids, or again, I'm a lot of it I'm kind of doing by eye because I'm kind of a little bit more used to it. But it really starts from that, whatever you see, just kind of, it's trying to see the relationships between, these angles and how long things are, and then that's how you can get more accurate. So let's say we do this, and then we go follow the chin. So you go straight this way. Okay, let's get back to the eye. So let's start shading. Let's have a little bit more fun now. So now that I have some of the features roughed in, some of the reference marks, I'm gonna start shading. And again, I'm using a 4B pencil, which is very soft. And the reason I like using the 4B for these kind of sketches because it allows me to sketch a lot quicker because it's softer and also shade a lot quicker. See, just like a few strokes, I can fill up that area. Okay. So let's do the eye. And again, nothing is really nailed down. You can always start, changing the proportions and things like that. But, you got to start somewhere. And if it's off, you'll know it soon enough. Okay, let's do that. Eye. Okay, so let's move on. Let's move on to the other eye. Well, let's do a little bit more shading. Shading his nose down here. Here. Let's do his nose down here. I'm just gonna work down. Okay. His nostrils. Okay. All right, let's go back up to his other eye. See right here, the corner of his eye. So that, again, following the same slant, right? See, his eyes is very, very rectangular. Let's see, this way. And, there's really no shortcut in terms of how to draw or how to draw accurately. It's just a lot of practice. The more you do it, the closer you're gonna be able to get it the first time around. And it looks like something is off, but let's just go with it. Okay, let's do the eyebrows. So the eyebrows is very thick. Let's see, and it's just definitely it's a slant right there. So let's say eyebrows here, and then we're gonna do this one. So there's a little bit of this kind of strokes that you can do. That, then it starts to turn. There's a little peak here. It starts to turn right around his eye right here. So now we know this goes down this way, and it kind of goes past the corner of his eyes a little bit. So now we know it's there. I'm gonna do the top a little bit. All right. So let's move down to his nose. Looks like it's a little bit skewed, but let's just go with it. Okay, his lips. Okay, there's a little curvature here. So I'm just gonna keep sketching. So the top of his lip is usually darker, than the lower because it's, the light is usually coming from the top. So it tends to, make the top of the lip darker. And then the lower lip is catching the highlights. And then here, check the lip. I mean, it's actually a very complicated form. See this little bulge here? There's a little bulge, that's why there's this little shade, shadow going on in here. It's actually very important. And you see the bottom of the mouth here. You see how that tucks in because there's another bulge right here. See, it goes all the way around. So those are just common features on the face. And again, the more you draw and the more you look at things, you're gonna be able to see those things. And again, you might not be able to see it at first, but as you keep shading and drawing it, you will, those things will come into play. You'll start to recognize it, and then once you recognize it, then you'll be able to draw it. And again, I'm jumping up to the face again, back to his eyes, because I don't want to spend too much time down here. All right, so let's keep going. So yeah, the more you look at things, the more you're gonna be able to see the subtleties in the form. And I know it sounds silly, but if you look at anyone's drawings, especially like a beginner's drawing, they'll end up using a lot more lines than shading, and that's partly because they don't really have the hand control that they have. But it's also because they start seeing like the nose here, right? Oh, that's a line, so they'll just draw a line representing the nose. Well, actually, it's not, right? I mean, the reason you see that a line there is really because of the shading. So the better you get at drawing, the more that you'll notice that you actually be shading to get the form as opposed to drawing the lines. Like kind of like what I did here, right? I just kind of shade it as I see it, and all of a sudden this line appears, right? So, and that creates the form, and that will create, by shading it, that's kind of what bring out the form. It's not the lines, The lines are just really for to guide you, and to also for artistic expression, when you want to use it, because a line could be very beautiful, can be very nicely, very expressive. Okay, so let's shade the lips. Let's go down here. So like the lip, first, you think it's just all dark, but then when you look at it, there's not, right? Because there's certain curvatures in here. Like right here is a little slightly darker. And then right here it's even darker because it overhangs a little bit more. So by shading, see how I made this a little bit darker? Now it feels more round, right? It feels like things are tucking into each other, and that's really what the lip is doing. So I'm gonna go up to the nose. Again, I'm jumping around, and I don't like to make any one particular area too dark, especially not at the beginning, just because I want to be able to see it as a whole and not concentrate on one area too much. And you can do that as much as you want. Some people actually finish whole eye first and then work on the other parts. For me, it's just I like to see it as a whole and just kind of work around it. It's a little bit less mechanical that way. I like to keep it loose, because it is a sketch, I'm not doing an illustration to be sold. Alright, so let's move on to this other eye. So let's see, okay, the lightness of this is getting a little bit better, because as I'm shading, I'm also adjusting for the shapes too, because at the beginning usually your lines are off or whatever. Your reference points might be off. But if you're shading, then you kind of do any little adjustments. Okay. So like a male face is a lot more fun to do, because it's harder. I mean, not harder, but like his features are harder. It's a little more angular and it's not so touchy. Female faces tend to be a little bit harder to draw because it's a lot more delicate and it needs to look pretty. Kind of my last video of the female face of a pretty face. So with this, you can, it's a little bit more forgiving. So I'm shading again with a 4B, and like these areas, bigger areas, what you want to do is just keep it real light. You can see that I'm just kind of barely touching the paper, the surface of the paper. And that's just hand control. You'll get that just the more you draw, the more you can feel the surface of the paper. And the more variation you'll be able to do. And you see that a lot on beginners, if you're just starting to draw, the shading becomes very flat, and ultimately becomes incorrect because the lines are wrong, the shading, the values are wrong. And that's just because they don't have the hand control. And they're probably not seeing the subtleties right here. Like if you look at this face right here, right, there's a little dip in here, and it dips back in here. And then there's a big highlight right here on the cheekbone. So if you're not sure, the best way to do it is just to go light at the beginning. You can always go over it again, as opposed to getting too dark in the first place and then getting it wrong. And the only caution about that is just because it is paper, there's certain textures on the paper, and if you keep rubbing it over in the same area, you will lose the tooth of the paper, and it'll become very smooth, and at that point it'll be actually very difficult to shade. So just make sure you can go over as much as you want, as long as there's still the tooth on the paper. But at a certain point, if you're getting slippery, then you know that you kind of rubbed off the texture. Okay, so it's getting there, right? If you look at it as a whole, you can see that everything is very even. Like that's because I haven't gone real dark yet, and I'll do that next, because I'm just gonna push it further, make it darker and darker. So let's do a little bit of chin. Okay, all right, so here I pushed it a little bit more. Did a lot more shading and just try to correct for some of the errors of accuracy I had in the beginning. And yeah, it looks like probably this eye is a little bit too big. Looks like there's a general skew. It's probably made his overall his face a little bit too wide. But overall it's okay. It still kind of looks like Bruce Lee, so it's probably good enough. So in terms of shading, again, it's just very light. With a 4B pencil, and you can do this kind of circular shapes, or you can just do cross hatching and just kind of like what I'm doing here, just really light, and just kind of keep bringing the forms out. Whatever you see, like this is really dark, and then you go do these little wiggly shapes, and it just keep going. Like down here, I'm just gonna keep doing it like this. And if it needs to be darker, then you just kind of push down the pencil a little bit harder, and then that will give you the the slightly darker area. So kind of like what I've done here. So from here, it's just a lot of this kind of shading, and again, I'm using a 4B. If I switch to like a 2B or something like that, it'll probably give me a little bit more variation in the value. But I kind of like this kind of rough texture look anyway, so I'll just stick with the 4B. So yeah, just give it a shot. Try to do a male face, or try to do Bruce Lee. This guy was my idol growing up. It's like what Asian kid didn't idolize Bruce Lee? And it's just such a tragedy that, you know, he passed away so young. Still kind of gets me choked up when I think about it. Like if you think about, you know, the knowledge that he had and what he would have contributed to the martial arts world had he been alive, it's just staggering. And his philosophies, his way of life. So I hope you enjoy this and give it a shot, and I will see you next time. Wow!